Hey everybody, Jake here from Bearded Gear, and I've got another Microtech review to do for you. This is the Sigil. Just before filming this, I just finished up on filming my review of the two SOCOM Elites that I've had. This is a loaner from YD Knives, so were those, and YD Knives is going to be linked down in the description below. Check out his Instagram. Awesome dude, great collection. He's selling stuff all the time, so if you're interested in one of his knives, don't ask me, ask him. I've actually had, just like with those SOCOM Elites, I've had a few people ask me if this is for sale. I have no idea. It's not my knife, it's YD Knives. Ask him. His Instagram is linked down below. So, anyways, this I like 10 times more than the SOCOM Elites. I wish Microtech made way more of this knife, because I think this might be my favorite Microtech that I have ever experienced. It is just an absolutely awesome titanium frame lock flipper. Let's start with the materials, and then I'll talk about why I'm liking it so much. So, this is a Sigil Mark 6 according to the blade. I don't know what Marks 1 through 5 were like. This is a Mark 6. It is manufactured, or was manufactured, 04-2017. Serial number is 653. So, I don't know whether more have been made since then. I don't know. I don't think they're making these right now. I don't know that it's specifically retired either. It could be a model that they just make every now and then. I don't know, but I want one now. It's a really, really great knife. So we're rocking an LMAX blade steel on titanium scales, as you can see. It is a flipper with a hole. On this side, you can see our over travel stop slash whatever you want to call that around the pivot is copper. We have a hardened stainless steel insert on the frame lock for the interface. We have a milled titanium pocket clip, which looks quite good, and we have a titanium backspacer. So, a whole lot of titanium, a little bit of copper, some LMAX, and a lock insert. The internals of this frame are milled out. It's not like the deepest, most extensive internal milling I've ever seen, but it's substantial how much they have taken out. As much as it could be more, it's not like meaningless. Like they've definitely done some work on the internals of this to lighten it up a little bit. And as you've already seen on the outside of this, there's quite a bit of milling that is kind of functional and also just very aesthetically pleasing. So I guess let's talk first about some of my favorite things about the knife, and then I'll talk a little bit maybe about some things that I'm not so crazy about. One of my favorite things, period, about this knife is every time that I open it, I am shocked how much blade comes out of this handle. It's just such a good blade to handle ratio, and this knife, I feel like, I don't know, the blade length on this is pretty freaking close to the SOCOM Elite, and this knife feels so much smaller and more refined, but no less capable than that knife, in my opinion. It feels just as thin behind the edge to me. Like, all of the positives that I hear people rave about with the SOCOM Elite, I feel like this does better. The action's different, being a flipper and being a titanium frame lock. It obviously functions a little different, but it doesn't feel heavier to me. It fits better in my pocket, way better, especially because it's tip up, which I believe the SOCOM Elite should be. It's thinner this way. Maybe not at the tail end, because the SOCOM Elite kind of tapers, but at its thickest point, it's definitely thinner than the thickest point of the SOCOM Elite. It just, when I have this knife in pocket, I enjoy having it there. It's not a bummer at all to carry. The SOCOM Elite kind of is. This one, especially with how it tapers up here, it's real easy to get my hand in and grab my wallet. That's important to me. This pocket clip is fine. It's not the biggest bummer in the world, but it's not a great pocket clip either. It functions for me. There's enough room that I've had it in jeans. It does great. In light shorts, it's fine. It can be like just the littlest bit snaggy. I think that's just because there's so much tension. Like, it's a really stiff clip, but it's not because it's catching on anything underneath. It's just really stiff. So I like the pocket clip, but I don't love it. I feel like I'm already going out of order based on what my plan was. Sorry. But yeah, so my favorite things are the amount of blade for handle is just phenomenal. So good that you're getting that much cutting edge into this size of knife when it's folded. I love that. And I think aesthetically, this knife looks so good because of it. The proportions, I don't know. Sometimes it bothers me on some knives more than others, but when there's a knife that just seems like it's like 2/3 handle and 1/3 blade, that looks funky to me. I want it to look like the blade is at least close to the handle in length. And so I like that you're getting so much cutting edge out of this. This one also, for me, indexes really, really well. The way these ergos work for my hands, sorry, these flies are going to be the end of me. I get nice 2 fingers in here and then 2 fingers just behind it on the flat there, and it feels so comfortable for my hand. There's no aggressive jimping anywhere. There's a little bit of jimping here on the blade, and it's a nice stretched out section of jimping. So even when my thumb is pretty far forward in a saber grip, I'm still getting some of that jimping with my thumb, almost giant mouse style where they put it further forward. This is just kind of a long stretch of it, and I like that. If you're gonna have jimping, put it where my thumb actually lands so that it makes sense. And it's not super aggressive. It's aggressive enough that I can really feel that it's there, and it does feel like it's locking me in that little bit extra, but it's not painful in any way. And I don't have dainty little fingers. I just happen to not like it when there's a rough surface for no reason. This doesn't feel too rough, and it's placed well. The only other jimping anywhere on the knife is on the flipper tab, and it's actually functional. It feels good for flipping it, so I dig that. And plus, it gives you a little bit of traction right here, kind of in the guard. Not in a way that's like messing with my knuckle negatively, but just feels locked in. Like, the amount of grip I feel like I get on this knife, being a titanium frame lock, which inherently, usually titanium frame locks are a little more slippery for me than G10 or micarta. This feels really locked into my hand. I like it quite a bit. Saber grip, hammer grip, doesn't matter. Both feel great. Reverse grip feels quite good. This way better in reverse grip than the SOCOM. SOCOM sucks in reverse grip because they put a stupid glass breaker right here. They didn't do that here. Here's a Microtech that doesn't have one. Kudos. Thank you. I don't want a glass breaker. I want to be able to put my thumb on this in reverse grip. That's important to me. Might not be important to everybody, but I guarantee you if you put the knife in reverse grip and you have to make a cut like this or a stab or something and you jam your finger into that freaking glass breaker, you're gonna agree with me pretty quick. This makes way more sense to me as a design throughout. Yeah, so let's try to make a list. What are the things that I like? Because I keep just rambling. I love the blade to handle ratio. We've established that. I like the thinness of this knife overall. It's not an obscenely thin knife. It's no TRM folder, but for a titanium frame lock, the thickness of this knife feels really well balanced for how great it feels in my hand. Ergonomically, just an excellent folding knife, but also still being slim enough in pocket that it's comfortable to carry. It's not a bummer to have on me. Keeps the weight down a little bit. And this blade stock is really robust. So that's going to add some thickness to the overall profile as well. But these scales, these titanium slabs, are not too thick. I feel like they really nailed it on the thickness of these. And then the milling gives it just that little bit of extra dimension and texture and some like kind of spots where my fingers can kind of dig in and get that little bit extra traction without being sharp anywhere. Just feels great to me. Yeah, so ergos, big win. Blade to handle ratio, big win. Deployment, big win. The flipper tab is fun. It's a good flipper tab. This action feels different from most other frame lock, titanium frame lock actions that I've ever felt. It just has a different sensation to it. Like, you can kind of feel the friction all the way through. It's not like as glassy smooth as a lot of bearing knives are, but amidst that, it's still like, even though I can feel like almost like a slight ticking, I tried to describe it in my first impressions. It almost feels like gears that are like well oiled, but there's like a little bit of you can feel like kind of a ratcheting while it's still flowing every bit like it's supposed to. I don't know if it's just this one or if this is unique to this knife, but I dig it. It feels really different. Like, I can feel the blade moving the whole time it moves. It doesn't just feel like it was closed, now it's open. Like, I can feel the motion, but it's like, I don't know, it deploys solidly, it thuds open, it comes down nice and easy once you get past the detent. It's like pretty much a drop shutter. Oh, come on. again, once you get past the detent. But yeah, it just, to me, this action it's very fun. So that's another thing on the list that I love. I mean, I don't know what else to say that I really love about it. That's kind of everything about a folding knife, right? The blade is nice and thin, a lot of cutting edge, and it's good cutting edge. This knife cuts really, really well. The ergos are fantastic for me. It carries, if it had a better pocket clip, I think this knife would almost be like perfection. The pocket clip isn't the worst. It's not a bummer of a pocket clip. It's just not the best either. It doesn't hurt in my hand. It's comfortable there, so that's a win. But getting it in and out of pocket is just a little tight, and that kind of is what it is. But overall, I feel like the design on this knife, aesthetically, it's one of my favorite looking knives that I've ever had in my possession. I think it looks great. I love a Warney or a sheep's foot, whatever you want to call this. I would go with Warney because it's kind of a straight down to there, but I love it. I love the eye and the blade and how functional it is for deployment. I think it's a great knife. I really, really do. I feel like, I don't know, if I were to do a head-to-head between this and the SOCOM Elite, maybe I will to illustrate my point, but I don't want to rub salt in the wound of the SOCOM Elite. This, in my book, destroys that knife. And I just don't see any application that I would prefer that knife over this one. This one feels every bit as hardcore to me, and every bit as cool to me, frankly. I think this looks even cooler than a SOCOM Elite, personally. I feel like there's nothing that this is lacking that knife has. And I think this is so underrated in Microtech's lineup, existing or previous, or hopefully they make more of these. I really hope they do. Hopefully this, I don't know, maybe if a bunch of you end up wanting these after I make this review, maybe we can all let them know. Please make some more, because even just posting pictures of this on Instagram and in my comments on some of these videos that I've already put up of this knife, I've had a lot of people say that they're looking for one or have wanted one for so long, or on and on and on. And I think this should be a hallmark in Microtech's lineup. It's my favorite Microtech, definitely folder, maybe just Microtech period, that I've ever handled. In fact, I'm pretty sure it is. I can't think of another Microtech that I'd rather own than this one. I love this knife. It is excellent, and it's in great materials. The fit and finish is awesome. It looks so cool. I've seen as well, there's a bunch of different variants of this knife. I saw one in a Facebook post earlier, I think this morning, that had a carbon fiber show scale and a black blade. I've seen them with brass show scales, I think copper. I've seen there were other runs of these in different sizes at one point. I don't know if those were like protos or what, but I've seen somebody in one of the Facebook groups I'm in posted one that was, I can't remember if it was bigger or smaller. I don't know. I've seen one for sure at some point that was a different size of this same knife, but I think this needs to be more of a thing for Microtech, and maybe I'm just missing it, but I feel like I don't see much about this knife. I've got one buddy who has owned one of these for a long time and has always been telling me that it's great, and I handled one for a quick second at California Custom Knife Show, but at a knife show you're holding so many things, and it all, to an extent, blends together a lot of the time. And I remember thinking it was cool, but I think the table I was at also had it like way marked up. Anyway, I would love to see way more of this from Microtech. If there's a Microtech I want, it's this one. That's I guess kind of gonna be it. So the Sigil is kind of in my Hall of Fame now, I guess. This is one of my favorite knives I've ever reviewed. I really, really like it, and I would love to own one at some point. Whether that means I have to find one at some point on the secondary, or if Microtech makes some more. Either way, this is a knife I want, and it's great. So thank you to YD Knives for sending this along, and I'm really, really glad that I got to check it out. So, there you have it. Microtech Sigil in apocalyptic finish, and it is a absolutely fantastic knife. And these bugs are not fantastic. I would like to burn them all to death. Thanks, guys.